Alright, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I'd like to say Shalom to the elect that teach this word in all true faith and sincerity. And today, I just want to tie this lesson. The chip is the mark of the beast, or the mark of the beast is the chip. And as we get closer to the perfect day, that prophecy is becoming more clear and obvious. Well, that's what it is. For an example, you see the rise of data centers popping up. That's not a push. That's not an effort for the people to get back into Christianity. For the love of Jesus, to revamp that spirit. No. Everything's going towards this digital system. And ultimately, these devils try to have the people online, literally. That's why you have these saying the term Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, But I got this article from Market Watch, and it reads, Elon Musk compares his company's work to that of Jeebus. And that's the pride of these devils, man. The pride of Edom. And really, it's just the title itself kind of sums it up. I read this little part. It says, in an interview on Monday, the billionaire said his Neuralink brain implant company is progressing in its development of Jesus-like technologies. And that's those miracles the scriptures speak about. This man, and what he can do with his tech. Matter of fact, let's start off with that in the book of Revelation 13. Revelation 13 and verse 14. It reads, I started 13. It says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he make a fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And the great wonders, part of it is this man and his technology. With this man, a lot of his tech is really military, for military purposes. Even the cell phone, the microwave, the television, all that is pretty much retired military stuff, man. But then you had, this devil, this most notable, the fire coming down from heaven when he dropped those bombs on them gooks. Skinny man and fat boy. Even to this day, he's known for airstrikes and shit like that. For you to come under his rule, that nigga hit you with airstrikes. It said, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image unto the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live. And he said he deceived them by the means of those miracles. So this man, his technology, and that's how this nigga would justify colonialization by the way of him saying, look how much the world have progressed under his rules. You got cars and shit now. You can travel faster. You can communicate, you ain't got to send a letter or you go on a voyage, so-called made your life easier. And even the ailments and the sicknesses, this what this devil is trying to do to lure the people in. See, it's going to get to the point where to have that chip, whether in your head or in your forehead, it's going to be mandatory. It's not going to be a suggestion. And how this devil is doing it, this nigga's presenting you the pros and cons. All these things are going to be convenient. It's going to be easier for you. You're going to be able to see again. You're going to be able to walk and recover from this ailment or this symptom. All these pros, and then the only con this nigga got is, you dealing with privacy. People might have privacy concerns. No, that's going to be those digital shackles that he's trying to bring forth. It ain't just privacy that people are going to be concerned about. It's going to be if you don't agree to their standard. Hey, you might be put on time out. That chip ain't going to probably work for a couple days. You too out of control. They can release something in the chip and you die, But this is where we at, and that's what this devil is trying to do. These so-called pseudo miracles. And how did this nigga say it's the same work as JC? You know what I mean? That's a proud nigga, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna continue on. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So pretty much that Roman system revived. And it's and pretty much because ultimately when that chip comes, that's going to be the that line being drawn in the sand. So those that don't have that chip ain't going to be able to come and go within the society. That the Crown Vic showed you that, in a sense. It was a prelude to it. If you didn't have you verified or had that thing, you ain't got a mask on, you couldn't enter into certain establishments and businesses. How much more when that chip come? Because, it was certain loopholes and some mom and pop shops that didn't agree. But this, in the time comes, is going to be what pretty much they going to all have to agree. If not, and say you should be killed, which it was going to lead to, being put to death, getting our head chopped off. But it begins with, just you being X'd out the system. Same with the Crown Vic. If you didn't have that mask, you couldn't go into that store without that mask. try and see how far you get. So how much more when that chip is mandatory? It says, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So it said he calls them. So it's going to be mandatory. It's going to get to the point. It's not a suggestion. Nah, it's going to be a man. It's going to be or else. Get it or else. And your very livelihood will be compromised if you don't take it. That's why we trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai. That's why we trust in the Lord, and we have in the records, the things to look to, and have faith in that the Lord's going to keep us. For an example, 3 holy children. And how it was mandatory to you had to bow down to that image when you heard the music. That was mandatory. And if you didn't, Nebuchadnezzar said, you're gonna be thrown in that furnace. So it's no different today. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See, and you can't buy by saying you believe in Jesus. How much grocery can you get by quoting John 3:16? No, this is the requirement to have that C-hip. And this is what we at in this process. And how this devil, he's the cunning hunter. Cause how he setting it up the way these people gonna willingly take it, man. Yeah, he all about your rights and First Amendment and this and that. This devil like to say human rights. A bitch can go get can delete a fetus because it's her body, it's her choice. But when it comes down to taking that chip, you're gonna have to take that for safety reasons, identification is too many illegals. We gotta track this. This is how this devil is gonna do it, man. And you'll be deemed an enemy if you don't bow down. This 2 Corinthians 2:11 reads, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." See, and this is his strength is deception. This nigga, as I mentioned earlier in the spirit, this devil he would present the pros and cons of taking a chip. It's all these benefits, yet only con is privacy. Nah, nigga, you gonna get cancer too. The scripture speaks on that. Cancer. That's slavery. That, you really taking a stance that you're gonna serve Esau forever, man. And that's literally gonna be the case, because if you don't do or say what he like, that's not agreeable unto him, you could be asked out. Look at China and how their social system is set up. It's a rise in homelessness because the people are not in line with the government. So motherfuckers lost so many points they can't even take the train no more. They can't fill out an application. So this nigga is trying to do that with that chip, keep an eye on everything in a sense. But the scripture said we are not ignorant of his devices, because of course that word device, it means a plot, scheme, usually in a evil manner. And there's no coincidence the word device in today's time is associated with technology, because that's the ultimate device that he's trying to bring forth. But scripture says how the Lord is gonna disappoint him. Matter of fact, we'll end off on this. I think it's Psalm 21. All right, Psalm 21, 11 reads, "For they intended evil against thee." And that's this devil, man, the so-called white man. His intentions are evil, especially to the children of Israel, because of the birthright, man. See, this nigga is not doing things, you expanding, you doing an add-on to the house. You adding another room and a bathroom and a closet because you up. You got some money to spend. No, this devil is doing these things out of desperation. He feel the power slipping from his fingers. That's why the scripture speaks on how he knoweth he have but a short time. So when you on the clock, the offense is different now. And he's hastening, to fulfill his agenda, man. And by any means necessary. So we finna see that play out with this devil. And he's about to get very violent, because the deception is not working anymore. It says they imagine a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. See, and as I mentioned, the word device can go back to a scheme or a plot. But in modern times, it's associated with technology, because that evil plot is that tech, is that chip. That's in his fullness. This nigga, he want to do all these things, but what's his goal? Chip the people, man. That is the mark of the beast. That micro C hip. Cause look where their momentum is heading towards. This digital system. And how this devil, he promoting it. He presented as convenience, and it's gonna help you. It's gonna upgrade you. It's gonna fix you. But that's really just those digital shackles, that digital all, So yeah, I hope this will edify, and to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rechai, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, their teachings word in all true faith and sincerity. Shalom.